Before making any hires, you need to know at what tempo and what pace you need to hire people at, depending on how your company is scaling or is going to scale. This is a super important metric to understand. How much fulfillment, if you are hiring fulfillment, can one person do, and at what point, what velocity do you need to hire people at based on your sales? Same with manufacturing, the same calculation. And I was just reflecting on this because in the last year, we've hired in the region, I think, of 40 to 50 people this year. And what really helped was at Alex and Layla Hormozi's workshop that we attended summer last year, I got to speak to their head of recruitment. And it kind of, the analogy that clicked for me there and then from Frank was that recruitment is exactly the same as sales. Just each step along the way has a different name, but it's exactly a parallel workflow with a customer's journey to be sold, right? So first of all, they need to know about the job, right? So you've got to advertise it. Then you have to sell them on it, which is called an interview. And then if they're successful, you have to onboard them. And that's exactly the same as it is for selling a client. You've got to onboard them so that they can be successful. You have to activate them. Then you've got to train them up. You've got to pass them through the onboarding sequence you have to get them up to speed. And then you've got to do continuity with that person, that the success you would have with a customer, to check in at vital points to make sure they're hitting their goals. And then you've got to resell them every so often, or figure out the career path that they're going to go on. And as soon as I got that, it just clicked. All of a sudden, it's a numbers and inputs game. If this doesn't make sense to you yet, that's okay. Ask your questions below, and I will make specific videos on any questions you have along the hiring process, because there's so many intricacies. But essentially, if you have built a sales workflow, you build exactly the same thing to find talent. And unfortunately, just like the cost to acquire a customer, there is a cost to hire an employee. And my strongest advice here is get it right. Because the wrong employee, I think there is a statistic on this, it's something like hiring someone costs you $20,000 or £20,000 if they're the wrong person. Which is totally true. The amount of time and effort that goes into that person, if they end up not being the right fit, you would have been better off just doing it yourself, because you will drastically decrease your efficiency whilst you're getting them up to speed. And teaching is a whole other ballgame. Delegating and handing off tasks and having the systems in place for them to feel supported in their work, but also having the freedom to make their own decisions is tough. But this was all a reflection on how far I and my partner Millie as entrepreneurs have come in the last couple of years. And it's really easy when you're in the trenches to forget where you were and where you've been and where you are now. And every now and again, it's good to look up and go, wow, I am impressed that that's not a problem I have anymore. That's not something I'm ignorant about. I know the answer, I know the solution on how to do that, and I've done it many, many times, which makes me confident that I can do it again. So yeah, there you go. If you're struggling with hiring, make sure, or if that's the limitation of the company, the current obstacle, constraint, make sure that you know your hiring velocity, what that needs to look like. And if you can't keep enough people, that's why you're not hiring fast enough. And so you work back from, and it's just like closing percentages. You know, as an example, my last hiring round, 1,200 applicants, I think it was about half of them were immediately screened out from the basic questionnaires of competent English, experience we're asking for, and then you invite those to group interviews. Of that, maybe 80% book, 50% show up, and then 10% get taken through to the next one-to-one round. Of those, maybe a third you end up offering the job. And so like you can just do the numbers at each step and be like, right. And that's how we ended up with 10 hires, by the way, from 1,200 to 10. You do those steps and those conversions, and as long as you know those percentages, if you don't, you have to do a trial run. Find out those numbers, and then you actually have a scalable system. Like, okay, if I do the same thing but 10x, I'll end up with 10x the final result. That's it. There you go. That's what I'm talking about today. Have a great one.